Okay, so we're live. Thank you for joining us on Ambitious Moms discussing education in our children. We have a few moms who are also very involved in their children's lives and sustaining education, and I guess, starting off the process for some of us who have younger children and, really digging in for those of us who have older children. So we can do some brief introductions. I'm a mom, and I have a 2-year-old who'll be 3 in August. I don't know why I'm so confused. He'll be 3 in August, and he's in a daycare, but it has a very strong kind of curriculum. So he's learning a lot, and he's doing a lot of things that I didn't even expect him to be learning so soon. But, as turns 3, the hunt is on for, a school that's perfect for him. So, Kitiana, do you want to share a little bit about you and all that you have going on, and not just your momhood, but everything else?
Sure. I'm Kitiana Howard, and I'm in Columbus, Ohio. I'm a single mom of two. I have a 14-year-old son who's finishing up his freshman year in high school, and then I have a 5-year-old daughter who will be a kindergartner in the fall. Um, Here in Columbus, I have a couple of businesses. I have a nonprofit organization for single moms called Successful Single Moms, and we provide. Yes, I know. And we provide programming, resources, and support for single moms in the area. As my 5-year-old reminded me, like I would forget, I do have a community organization for young girls of color called Pretty Brown Princess. It's for young girls ages 5 to 12, really just encouraging our girls to love and embrace who they are. And we meet the second Saturday of every month. And then I also have a business called Loving Me. And as a part of Loving Me, currently I'm planning the 2015 Single Mom Success Tour. And that conference tour will take place in Columbus, Charlotte, Indianapolis, Toronto, and Detroit. So, in addition to all of that, I work full time and am also in school getting my doctorate in strategic leadership. So, busy, busy, busy over in my world.
Yes,
Whoa.
right. Not just a mom, right? Not just a mom. So that's so exciting. I mean, that puts so much on the table. You have one, child who's so much older, who's in high school, which is a whole different process.
Yeah.
Child who, so young and just going into kindergarten, which is going to be an event in itself. So,
Yeah, it's been challenging to remember,
mhm,
how to teach how to tie your shoes, how to teach what a letter is, why don't you get it yet? It's like, oh, because you just got here 5 years ago. That's why you don't get it yet. So it's definitely an adjustment. There's 9 years between my babies.
mhm,
It is an adjustment.
yes. Okay, hopefully Mikayla will sign back on. She's having some trouble, but Brittany.
Hi, I'm Brittany. I'm a single mother with one child. She'll be 4 next week. Currently she is in a daycare, and her daycare does have pre-K, so she will be staying in the that same place for pre-K. But I'm currently looking for schools, starting to think about kindergarten already, because I'm here in Atlanta. We all know about the big scandal with the Atlanta public schools. So I'm not really sure if that's an option. So I'm doing my research about, different options that I have for my daughter, like.
Yes, our princess. And I think, some of the anxiety, that goes into finding like the perfect place for your child to go to school, it starts even before you have the child. So when first
Mm.
found out I was pregnant, I immediately was like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? Whose zip code am I going to use? Like, because it's so define what kind of education your child gets. And so it's so important that, we're thinking ahead, even though like he was just not even born yet. I still was thinking ahead, like what can I do to make sure that he gets the best opportunity possible, because that's what we know, really define someone's, journey. Because at the end of the day, I feel like I started off at a really good, strong Catholic school, went to public school, and because I had such a strong disciplined background in the beginning, it was a little bit easier to adjust to being in
Mm.
public school, which was so relaxed. Like, and I can only imagine what kind of student I would have been if I would have started off, in public school, because I was all over the place in public school. I just talked too much. I was just, I was crazy. So, now that he's 3, it's kind of, and I live in Houston. When I was in D.C., I was looking for zip codes for real because I wanted to put him in a Chinese immersion program because it's, having a second language was so important. So now that, I'm here in Houston, I moved it out to the suburbs thinking, okay, this is the best school district. This would be a great place for us to build a home. But then when we started looking at houses, the realtors were saying, they change the feeder programs every few years because there is another housing, subdivision that's opening up. And so now all these schools are overcrowded. They have to shift kids from, the best school to now not so good. And that kind of worried me, So it's like there's always some type of anxiety when we are, looking for, a place. And so it's so funny that Brittany said, I'm in Atlanta, and it's not just your city. It's like every city has its own set of issues.
Yeah.
So Brittany, now that she's kind of going into pre-K, do you feel like she's up to speed at where you want her to be or where you feel like she should be?
I feel like I think she's in a good place. I do. I want her to do a little bit more. I mean, she knows her letters, numbers, how to spell her first name, last name. She knows my phone number. She knows those things. And I think it's just the mom in me that's just like, I just want you to know a little bit more. But I've asked her teachers and the pre-K teacher, and they're like, yeah, she's in a good place. She's really good, So that makes me feel good. It's just like, the mother of me just wants her to just a little bit more, because I'm always like, there's some kid that knows just a little bit more. So I try to push her, but I think she's good.
Mm-hmm. And Kitiana, maybe you can speak to us a little bit about that balance, right? That balance of pushing too hard and then not enough.
Yeah, the balance is challenging. The balance is challenging. My mom actually is a teacher, and so I've lived with it all of my life. And she was a kindergarten teacher for years. So she and I just had this, I'll call it a conversation. It wasn't really an argument. Conversation just yesterday. And we were talking about Denelian, the different ways that they do the letters. So Denelian is the one that has the monkey tail versus Xander-Blozin, which is ball and stick, like for your A's, for example. So like your A looks like this versus, having a little monkey tail. Which supposedly is supposed to help them when they start writing in cursive, but a lot of districts are doing away with cursive writing when they start to get to the intermediate age anyway. So we're having this whole conversation. We live in a suburb in Columbus. It's actually a pretty good suburb. And so she said, well, I don't even know why they're doing Denelian anymore because research shows this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And I said, well, Mommy, it's okay for her to learn something when she goes to kindergarten. Like, you don't have to teach her everything now. It's okay for her to learn just a little bit when she goes. And Mommy really didn't want to hear that, so caused a little issue between the two of us for a moment. But I think we're good now. But it's a fine balance. It's a fine line between, does my child know enough? Because kindergarten, I don't know how old you two ladies are, but I'm 35, and kindergarten 30-some years ago was completely different than kindergarten now. Now when they finish kindergarten, they're expected to be able to read and write and spell and, do math and things like that. Whereas when I was in kindergarten, we knew our colors and we colored all day, and, we had home living where it was all about, or happy home, it was all about, imaginary play and dressing up and things like that. And a lot of the districts are moving away from some of those things. There's still good teachers are still integrating them because those things are very, very important for our children. But because of state standards and things like that, they are expecting a whole lot more out of our children. So it's hard because as a single mom, I'm like, man, I'm at work all day long, and then, I come home and I cook dinner, and then I got to make sure that my oldest has done his homework, and I'm like, where's the time to sit down and do all that stuff? But mother is an advocate about just environment, using your environment. So when you go up the steps, you count up the steps in English, and you go down the steps, you count down the steps in Spanish. And even if all you know is to count 1 through 10 in Spanish, that's giving them something. Or you walk into the grocery store and you look at the cereal and find all the cereal that has a letter S in it. It's like a snake, and so it's really just about using your environment opposed to sitting down and drilling them. Because my mother, she would be so proud if she's listening live. Children learn through play. And there's so much research that says that that's the best way for our children to learn is through playing in their environment. Moms, like you said, there's somebody that knows a little bit more, and we want our kids to be the one to know. We want our kids to be the one to know the most. But with my son, when he was in first grade, he was tested through Columbus Public, and he was tested as gifted and talented. And then we moved into Worthington, and he didn't meet this talented criteria, but extremely intelligent. But that causes a whole lot of issues. Started kindergarten a year early, and so he's the youngest out of everybody. And there's nothing new about clock and calendar. And there's days where I pull hair. I'm like, well, maybe we should just go back. But we've been doing this for 9 years. We can't go now. So it all has its ups and downs to it.
And I think that's such a big thing that you picked up on, where you're saying, learning through play. Because I was I would get off of work, I would get home, and then I would be like, okay, we have to do this. They sent you this homework. We have, and he would be looking at me like, I've been out at school all day learning. I'm not coming in here to do that. And it would cause tension between the two of us. And that was, even more pressure and even more stress on him as it was on myself. Like, because I literally had time for nothing. I had nothing to give to myself at the end of the day. And so I stopped stressing myself about it. Like, I stopped saying, I have to read a book every day. If I'm tired, I don't read a book. If I feel like it, I do. And if I don't, I don't. And I just try to make the time where I do have the energy, as good as possible. So, I bought him an activity book. He refused to, to use it. So I started using it, like, just in my own therapeutic self, like, started coloring. And he was like, I don't want to color. I'm like, okay, that's fine. So I started coloring in it. And then I was like, hand me green, hand me pink. And that got him engaged. And that made me feel like, okay, I can do this. Like, there are some things that may, like you're saying, environment-wise, may make you feel like, okay, I can't do this because I have so much to do. But if I can find a few minutes during the week to somehow make him, feel like we're learning together without the stress and the pressure, then that's a, good balance. So Christina joined us, and then Michaela just joined back in. So Christina, just tell us how old your son is and what grade he's in. Hold on 1 second. Your volume's off.
Okay.
Now.
My son, he is 7 years old, and you said what grade he's in?
Yeah.
Okay, he's in first grade.
And I don't know why we. So we were talking somewhat about our concerns as moms, and getting our children in the right schools. And I know you have your son in a school that you specifically picked out for him because you felt that, that was the best fit for him. So how did you, find that school?
Well, it pretty much started with my daycare provider, just to make things easier. I am a single mom, so whatever stress I can relieve myself of is better, so it just was fitting for him to go to that district. And honestly, I did feel much more at ease with the school, just the whole energy, the environment. It just looked like it was just a school that had, good foundation and just, good teachers involved. And maybe I was overthinking it, but the school that he was on too, I just wasn't excited about it. I was like, no, so this is going to be, he's going into the second grade this school year, and so far so good. But just kind of chiming in on what you guys are talking about, just the it's first grade. I don't think it's the pressure of helping him. It's just the balance of working, cooking, this, and now I gotta help him, and he's not gonna get it in 5 seconds. Like, in my mind, I'm like, you should know this, but I'm like, okay, no, he doesn't know this, so let me bring it down and just find that patience and that balance. It can be a lot sometimes. It's crazy, but that's just how it is.
Yeah. So Makayla, how old? We could talk about your son. I know he's so young, and you're out in LA, which is a whole another jungle. But what are your concerns? Kind of, are you already starting to look for places, or are the schools in your area good enough for him to go to, pre-K, kindergarten?
Well, I actually have started looking. I know he's only 7 months, but I think y'all lost me. Can you see me?
I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I have started looking, but only in my play. But so in my opinion, there aren't really good schools. So I've already started for like charter schools and things of that nature that are out here that I can kind of look into. And his birthday is in September, so technically he'll miss that cutoff. His birthday is September 17th, so I'll have to probably put him in private school his first year just to get him in, because I don't want him to be held back an extra year just because he just happened to miss a date, by a few days. So I have started looking, but I'm not sure which direction I want to go to. He still has a couple years, so there may be, better schools by then, but they do have a lot of good charter schools out here. They just aren't directly in Compton. They're, out in LA and things like that.
And I think that's a big thing, the whole charter school, Montessori, private, Catholic, like there are all these options, and it's like, how do you, really start to go explore? Because when I was in law school, we were talking to someone who was in like the education department, basically the person who gives away the charters for charter schools in DC, and a lot of them are basically, they'll put them together and they'll throw them up, and then once they don't pass the standards and lose their charter, then it's like another charter pops up. So it's kind of like a recycling bin. Like, okay, there are the ones the KIPS, some other charter schools that are really, really big and kind of have a good history, but a lot of them are, throwing themselves together. They're just people who are in it for the wrong reasons.
Right.
So, I think that's something that we have to really, really look into sometimes when you're saying, okay, I want my child to go to this school, but now you have to look at their entire history and everything they've been involved in. Like Brittany was saying, okay, now there's an Atlanta scandal in the public schools, so I got to look out for educators and administrators who are, may have been involved in that situation. So, let's see, Brittany,
I just want to add to that. My mother actually has taught charter schools the past couple of years, and maybe 2 years ago, I think it was, she was teaching at a charter school, and they closed over Christmas break. The children were in school before Christmas break started. They went on Christmas break, and emails or letters or whatever were sent to the parents while they were on break, like a week before, if even that, school was supposed to start back up, and they said, oh, sorry, we're closed. You have to be very careful with charter schools. Like you said, they can, as long as you got your paperwork in order, you can open it, but then lots of times they don't stay open. And then just to speak to early fives, that's something else that my mom talks about a lot. And my son, I did what is it Makayla? I did what you were talking about doing, where you're finding a school that will accept them at that age. And so my son's birthday is in December, but I found a school whose cutoff was until the end of December. And although academically he does excellent, and he's a freshman in high school now. Academically, he does great, but that social piece is so important. And although he's around other people his age, and he has social skills, so it's not that he's missing social skills, but he's a full year younger than everybody else. So everybody is towering over him. If he were a girl, everyone would be starting their cycles before him. By being a boy, everybody's starting to fill out muscular, and things like that before he is. And just socially, I mean, he's just, although he's 14 now, we're now at the end of the school year, he's finally starting to do some stuff that a 14-year-old should. He's been 12 and 13, emotionally all year long. So My mom, being a kindergarten teacher, always talks about 5 year or summer girls, and those children, especially boys, that are right around that cutoff line. And she really encourages them waiting that extra year. I know from a financial standpoint, in terms of having to pay for daycare that extra year and things like that, there are lots of especially single moms. I'll say lots of moms in general. They're like, hey, I'm putting them in that way I don't have to keep paying for daycare. But in the long run, when they're in the classroom, it does more of a disservice, sometimes more of a disservice to not only the teacher and the other children in the classroom, but even more of a disservice to the child themselves, because they're in a formalized classroom environment, they're expected to act a certain way. And emotionally, mentally, physically, they just can't. But they're forced to. And so, like I was saying before with my son, every year I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, what do we do? We can't go back, but how do we keep moving forward? Because I don't know if we're going to survive. Right. Academically, he's great. It's just that social piece. So
that's a good thing to point out. And I noticed that even in my daughter's dance class, when I look at the 3-year-olds in the dance class and I look at the 4-year-olds, it's like, oh yeah, it's a big difference in this 1 year. Is complete difference. Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. Yeah.
Oh, wait, you can't hear me. Sorry. Bring that up about the social aspect, that you actually have her not only, in regular school, but in extracurriculars, right? That becomes an even tougher balance when you're trying to, be a mom and, get them in the best schools that may not be right in the area that you live in. And then you have to also get them in extracurriculars, right? So how did you choose dance for your daughter? And then, and how is that helping her? In a way, do you feel like that's helping her, or is it overwhelming for everybody?
Well, she loves it. She loves to dance around the house and sing and all that. So for me, it was a matter of it, because I am a single mother. So I just didn't want it to always just be, okay, we go to school, I pick you up from school, then we come home, and that's just all we do. So I wanted it to be something for her, to do, that I could support her in, that it wasn't just like me and her. It was her and other kids, and you know what I'm saying, being around other people. So first we started with swimming. She loved the swimming, but she still was just, I want to be a dancer, I want to be a cheerleader, I want to do this. So then it's like, okay, well, let's go, we'll do that. And so she loves it. It's a great way, she can't wait for dance class, she can't wait for swim class, and I think it's great. And as a child, when I was younger, I always wanted to do, a whole bunch of those things, but I couldn't do all of them. So I'm just glad that I'm, able to get her into doing those types of things that I wish I would have done when I was younger.
Right.
And next is gymnastics.
She got a list. And then, mommy, and then.
Yes, gymnastics, and then when she's 5, cheerleading.
Wow. Okay, she's gonna have more on her resume than me.
Me too.
Swim or dance.
Me neither.
Right. So, Christina, is your son in any extracurriculars? Have you started thinking about what it is that he's gonna do? In conjunction with school and after school and all those kind of things. Hold on. You're breaking up. Let's see. Oh, maybe I turned you down. Go ahead.
I was like, yeah, maybe. I mean, lately it's been conversations about it. He did attempt to do a flag football a couple of years ago, and it was kind of hard because I really wasn't able to be involved, because at the time my schedule was like I had to come in at this time and that time. So it was still just been trying to get a balance with things. So it's like now, he don't want to do football. He's interested in soccer, and I definitely feel like because of the career I'm in now, I can kind of create my own schedule. It's something I probably can get involved in, but I mean, I guess the fear for me is balance. Me being a single mom, I have to work, so my mind frame is just like, okay, I gotta work, okay, but I know I have to create something for him, because for number one, he's a single child, and the only interaction he does really get is when he's in school, which is good, generation where these kids, is laptops, video, just everything is a touch screen phone. It's really no, physical interaction, and I don't want him to be that type of kid. So now I'm starting to try to say, okay, if you want to get in soccer, instead of me trying to plan to do it, just go ahead and do it and just let things fall into place. So I've been in that space for a couple of weeks, because he's a growing boy, he's an active boy, he needs to do something other than just go to school and then come home and that's it. That's not really fair. I mean, I didn't really do any extracurricular activities. I mean, in middle school I ran track, but that was pretty much all I did, but at that age I didn't get involved in things like that. So I would like to give him, that type of experience as well. So it's in the making.
Mikala, I know you ran track in college, and did you run track in high school too? Hold on.
Yep, I ran track in high school. I kind of started when I was in middle school, but not really. I didn't take it seriously, and I really didn't run seriously till like my sophomore year in high school.
Mm-hmm. So do you feel like, is there a pressure for you to, make your son follow in your footsteps, or are you kind of like, whatever he wants to do, I'm going to allow him to do?
No, whatever he wants to do, I'm going to allow him to do. I kind of found my own way into track. Like, my parents weren't athletes or anything, well, not that I know of. So I'm just going to let him find his way. What I want to avoid seriously is, like, he's big for his size, and everyone's always telling me, oh, he's going to be a football player, and I kind of want to avoid that pressure of him feeling he has to be a football player, or that's the way he needs to go. I would love for him to be an academic first, obviously, but it's kind of hard to balance athletics and academics at the same time, and I don't know, it's going to be different, because number one, he's a boy, and so that's going to be a different experience in itself. But I would love for him to do both. I would love for him to be a student athlete. I would love for him to do both.
It's going to be challenging, but it's definitely doable. My cousin's son is graduating this year, and his scholarships, he's played football all 4 years, so he was offered several football scholarships. He is in Michigan, but he's going to school. His plan is to be a doctor, and his full ride that he got was on academics. So he got full ride based off of academics, but he's still playing ball. It is more challenging, but the reality of the matter is that I saw this percentage somewhere. I forget where I saw it, but only a small percentage of folks that want to be in the NFL actually make it to the NFL. It's like 1% or something crazy like that. So, we've got to give our children something else to fall back on if playing ball doesn't work. I was laughing the other day with a friend of mine. I said, why does it seem like all the pro football players, when they're no longer pro, or the big college athletes, when they're no longer playing ball, they all become car salesmen? And, it's because of, it's a reputable business that people already know their face, but there's got to be more besides just, selling cars or selling homes, unless that's what your passion is, just because you can no longer play ball.
Right. And that's funny that you talk about options and opportunity, and having this whole conversation just with moms. It seems like moms are so concerned that all we do is we're thinking and we're planning and we're thinking and we're planning and we're trying to figure out, how are we going to make this work? And some of it is because, you guys are single moms, and even though I'm not a single mom, I still feel like the pressure's on me. Like, I don't feel like the pressure's on my husband as much as it is on me. I feel like no matter what happens, everyone's going to look at me like, what happened? Like, this is your responsibility. So when I start thinking about these things, it's not like I'm able to bounce these ideas like, oh, I should. He's like, oh, yeah, cool. Oh, yeah, that's good. Like, and it's never like, oh no, maybe we should do this or maybe we should do that. If I'm like, I want to put him in the music and I want to put him in music and arts. I really don't want him to be, not that I don't want him to be an athlete, but I feel like because my husband's a big guy, he played football, and my son's kind of big, that like, Makala's saying that they want them to go down that road. And I want him to go, down the more arts and, languages. I mean, I want him to maybe play if he wants to, but, I just don't want him to feel like he has to be, that big burly football player, with rough around the edges and, eating up all the food and stuff. Like, I want him to do other things.
Eat all the wings.
All the chicken wings, all the hog maws and the pig feet, But I mean, I just feel like sometimes there's so much pressure on us as moms, like that we never get a second to let up, right? There's school, there's extracurriculars, there's, behavior. If you have a girl, how she looks and how she dresses, and if you have a boy, kind of in the same respect, but a little bit different. And it's like, when does their pressure ever give up? Give up. When does someone say, you know what, Mom, you're doing a great job? And sometimes I think it's hard for us to look back and say, you're doing a great job. I never say, Ernice, you're doing a great job. I'm always just like Brittany saying, I'm telling to my daughter more and more and more. I'm saying that to myself. Like, you should be doing more as a mom. There are moms out there whose kids know 5 languages, and, there are moms out there whose kids are already, doing this and doing that. And I'm just like, I need to catch up. Like, I don't feel like it's just my son. I feel like the pressure's on both of us. And I feel like sometimes when we have these conversations as moms, it's easier for me to, look at Catania, and to look at Christina and Makayla and Brittany and be like, okay, I can chill for a second. Like, your son's a freshman in high school. He survived. Like, even though he's not where you may want him to be and he has a little bit further to go, at least you can feel like he survived. You can look back at your daughter and be like, you're going to survive no matter how rough this gets around the edges and stuff like that. You'll survive. And I think maybe it's because I only have one. I think most of us just have one. And it's our first rodeo. It's like all of this pressure. And then maybe the second time around will be a little bit more relaxed.
It depends how far apart you have them, I guess. For me, having a boy and a girl 9 years apart they're completely different situations. Their personalities are polar opposites, so what works for my son doesn't even remotely work for my daughter. Then times have changed. Just in those 9 years, there's so much that's changed school-wise and, as far as what children are expected to do. And my cousin has 2 girls who are older than my daughter but younger than my son, and they're kind of like how you were talking about. They know several languages, and they've been writing since they're 3 weeks old type deal. She's done an amazing job with them, but she also is a stay-at-home mom. And so just recently, within the past, I think, year or so, she's put them in the school district just because of her health concerns. She wasn't able to continue keeping them at home all day. But one thing that I've learned is we can't compare ourselves to everybody else because everyone's situation is different. So there were times where I was like, man, her daughters know all this. And, when my son was that age, he didn't know all that. Or, man, I need to figure out how to make my daughter know all that. But I'm not at home with my daughter all day long. I don't want to be at home with my daughter all day long, I can't do it. So, we rely on the daycare centers or the home daycare providers where we place our child to be able to do the most with them. And just really, just trust that everything will be okay and they will figure it all out by the time they get into school and by the time they walk across that stage. When you said, who tells you you're doing a good job? You hear that on the day they graduate. That's when you get all your accolades and everything. And Mom, you've done such an amazing job. I've seen it a little bit of ways, as I'm going through the game, but the huge pomp and circumstance we get when they walk across that stage.
That's true. Makayla, are you still with us? Let's start. Oh, hold on. Oh, yeah, you just started. And I know your mom, is a nurse. She has a lot of opinions. Is she kind of pressuring you in any way? Because I know, you got to tell me how to say your name again. Kitanya. No.
Kitiana.
Kitiana. Okay, I got it. I know.
Yeah.
How she was saying, her mom is kind of Makala blanked out. I don't know where she went. Okay. We'll come back. And then Brittany just blanked out. Okay. Maybe she'll come back too. So, Chrissy, what is, even though he's in the first grade, I know you're probably planning the next step. Are you thinking about, okay, where is he going to go? Now,
Okay, you was breaking up a little bit, so I didn't get a chance to hear everything you said.
I'm saying, he's just in the. I was asking if you, were starting to try to figure out where he was going next. Like, what's next for your son? Do you have that same pressure where you're feeling like, okay, what am I going to do next? Where's he going to go next?
Well, honestly, right now, no, because I just be kind of like on a path. Okay, I'm sure that I feel that I have with him is that he also is a kid who started school late because of his age, and because it started with really like kindergarten, because his stature he a little bit bigger than most of the kids in his classroom. It sometimes seems like he's an easy target. Oh, he's a little bit bigger than some of the kids, so it's just, and I don't want, my son is just, he's big, but he's a Care Bear, like he's not that aggressive type of kid. He's very mannerable and very polite, but because of his, his height and his size, I don't want him to be an easy target for certain things, like maybe he was so in because he's so that I sometimes deal with as far as his social skills, and him communicating is fine. It's just how he looks and the pressure of, he, an average kid, like, with the conduct coding, like they put him on yellow for the most craziest things. So as a parent, I'm like, okay, he's 7 years old, but I know that they're trying to prepare him for the second grade and third grade and fourth grade. But it's like recently, like, because
you're breaking up some. Hold on 1 second. Okay, go ahead.
Because of his stature, so that right now it's going, but my main concern is just how he's perceived by these teachers. And I try not to have that mind frame that he's a black kid, so he's easily picked out. I try not to have that mindset because that's another added pressure that I don't need as a parent, just to wonder how you treated my child, or, you sure he was talking? You just write up. I know I have a strong personality, so with these teachers, I'm very hands-on in the classroom, so that's the pressure that I have. But, as far as everything else that comes along with the school, it's fine. I just get a little control well, but I just have, uh-oh.
Okay, go ahead.
My son is perceived, and just little things like that, but it's just, it can be a lot sometimes, but, right now, again, like I said, the plan is just to, let's just keep enrolling him and just, because, he's getting older and older, and, now he's going to be second grade, it's going to be a little bit more work involved, and just different things, so I'm just trying to prepare myself for that, it's just, but that's my plans right now. He's so young, we're just barely getting started.
I think that's also such a big concern for being a mom and also being black, is that we have that added pressure of, the racial biases that we know goes into the whole system, the whole pipeline, school to prison pipeline. Like we have, and it's not, I think it's a legitimate fear and a legitimate concern. And we have to make sure that people aren't targeting our children, but then we also sometimes we may seem paranoid. Like, like you're saying, Chris, like Like, are you just targeting my child? You know, you have that added pressure, but then at the same time, we have to be mindful that they're not allowing our child to kind of go down the wrong road because we allow them to. Because I was very talkative. I think I got whatever the middle one was, like the really good kids, and then like the one right below that one, that was it. So I got all good grades, but that little talkative section was, you know, always filled in with comments. She talked too much, like always. And so, but I never got kicked out. Well, I got kicked out of school once, but that was because I was like got into a fight. But that was when I was in like kindergarten. but you know, as far as like older, you know, first grade, second grade, third grade, fifth grade, I never got kicked out of class or school for my behavior. So my fear is now that they've become so much, you know, stricter in the discipline that, you know, and especially that I have a son, I'm like, okay, if they can come out of class, what are we going to do? What is that going to do to his self-esteem? You know, I'm crazy, you know, his dad is crazy. So imagine, you know, the anger that we're both going to have, you know, just so much tension that goes into the fact that discipline is necessary, but at the same time, how do you, you know, make sure that they're not going too far with your child. You know, with your child, like you know what your child's capable of, and then you also know that maybe they feel like they've gone too far, but it's kind of hard to gauge sometimes. And I read some articles with people who have boys who are like felt that their kids were treated unfairly, and that to me is scary when they're starting off at 3 and 4 being treated unfairly. You have to explain to them why they've been suspended from school at 3. Like, you know, that's a hard conversation, I feel like, to have, just dealing with that whole discipline and behavioral aspect. Brittany, did you want to chime in?
First of all, that was hilarious about you being crazy and your husband being crazy. But I understand what you guys are talking about with that. I don't know why I feel like I may have it a little bit easier because she's a girl in terms of, you know, in terms of what you were just speaking about. So I kind of don't worry about that as much, which I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I can definitely see where you all are coming from.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what I'm saying. When you're a girl and she's pretty and the teachers love her, it may be easier for them to kind of overlook certain aspects of her behavior. But as sometimes, like, you know, Christina was saying, her son's a boy, he's a little bit bigger, and he's black, so now you have all of these factors against him, or, you know, not against him, where teachers are kind of looking at him and saying, you probably did do that, you probably did, you know, compared to a girl who may do the same thing, and it may not be perceived in the same way. I think that's what my concern is. I know some of my friends went to like all girls high schools and, you know, or boarding schools. Have you guys ever thought about those as options for your children?
No.
No.
There's a family at our church who their daughter goes to a boarding school, and the daughter loves it. The family loves it. I don't foresee it as an option for me. I haven't really talked to them about, you know, the pros and the cons. My mom used to always threaten me, you know, I'm going to send you to a boarding school. But she didn't really mean it. But I don't see that. I don't think all girls school is a viable option, or all boys school for that matter, at least for my family, just because that's not what the real world is like. You know, you've got to be able to figure out how to deal with boys and girls. You know, you can't be so, you know, if you're not around any boys at all, and once you have the opportunity to be around boys, you got to know how to relate with them. And those things you learn while you're in school.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Makala, the school did you go to? Was it all girls or was it? Hold on, let me see.
I said I know of, no.
Okay. Yeah, I know, like, I have a few friends who went to boarding school and they swear by it, like, that's the best place in the world. And I also have friends who went to all girls high schools and they swear by it. You know, I don't go, so I really, you know, can't really make that type of assessment of if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I think for me, I think it may have been better because I feel like I would have been able to focus more on myself and not be worried about like what boys thought.
Development is appropriate. Children learn through play and using their environment.
Yeah. But I mean, this is like hold on one second. I'll be right back.
Well, mommy duties always come first.
Oh, yes. Mine is right here. We need to talk about get the kids out the bed.
Oh, I'm an advocate for that one. I had Operation Sleep in Your Own Bed in full effect, and it works in my household.
Oh.
Gotta do it.
Oh my goodness. Oh, something. Now he's crying because he doesn't want to go to bed. The joys of motherhood. The joys. But yeah, I mean, I think this is just the beginning of the conversation. I mean, there's so much more to discuss about structure and habits and, you know, best options and best practices because, like everyone is saying, things have changed since we were in school. And I mean, we weren't in school. It hasn't been that long, but in 15 years, things have completely changed. The atmosphere and the environment and the pressure and the stressors and all those different kind of things. So Thursday, I'm having a conversation with some more moms and some more educators, just kind of touching on the same topics. And then, you know, as time goes on, definitely look forward to discussing more aspects of education and motherhood and all the different things, how to find balance, how to pursue our dreams, you know, and still, you know, keep with being who we are. So thank you guys for joining me. This is, you know, we've had some technical difficulties, which we'll kind of work out in the next few sessions, but I'll make sure to invite you guys back to the next Ambitious Moms Hangout, and I hope everyone has a great night. Lord.